Hello, fifth grade. It's me, your science teacher. So we are going to finish up lesson 58 today. Um, the way that I did class on Thursday is how we're going to do things. So I will be showing you videos, and it'll be just like I was talking to you in class. On Thursday, we did on page 6, right? Yes, 6. We did paragraphs 3 and 4. You did a little bit of highlighting, and we looked at pictures of examples, and I am still on the picture of a moraine. Today we're going to do the rest of lesson 58. So go ahead and be on page 6 still, and we're going to look at paragraph 5. And you can follow along as I read, and it says, ocean waves cause erosion and deposition. Erosion occurs when large waves remove sand, soil, and rock from shorelines. Deposition occurs when small waves deposit sand and pebbles on shorelines, creating beaches, which I love, you know me. And, we talked about how the ocean waves are so powerful. So, the paragraph is describing ocean waves and how they cause some erosion and deposition. We have those words there. If you have large ocean waves, they can remove sand. We saw that one picture that I brought up you where that shoreline was just starting to just continue to wear away. And so when that happens, that is an example of erosion. Small ocean waves, if we have large ones, that can cause the soil to go away and be eroded. The small ones, though, they just help to deposit, or we call that deposition. Some of you like to say deposition. Look at the key part of that word, deposition, position. And so small waves will help move or reposition. I'm going to say reposition, but your text or your packet says deposition. It's going to move little bits of sand, a little bit of soil, any kind of rocks that might be there from the shorelines. One of the things, if I have told you before, is that I love collecting sand from wherever I go. And so I have from Israel, I took some of the Dead Sea. I have sand from all of the beaches where I've been to. I took sand from the Mediterranean Sea. And so I also had a friend go to Oregon, and they got me sand, and it's so black from volcanoes over there. And they just have a blacker kind of sand, which is really cool. So I have containers of it around my house, and I have a pretty jar that's labeled, and it's all layered up. And so smaller ocean waves are going to move that around. I am going to go on to our next photo, and this is of a rock slide. And it occurs when rock breaks and falls from the sides of cliffs and mountains. This happens a lot in Pittsburgh. I've been around hiking trails and parks where some of the rocks are sliding down our hills, either because of wind, or we've had lots of rain and it loosens up the dirt, the soil, and so the rocks, they begin to erode and wear down. Anyway, so there is a picture of a rock slide. These processes change the geosphere, and they can be constructive or they can be destructive. And as we look at these rocks on the road, this is pretty destructive. Not only, we don't know what was in the way. I wish we could see more of the picture, but this road is going to have to be closed for a while until they clean all of this up. And so that's something to consider. And so as we see here, these processes of deposition is going to be something that will change this landform, and they're going to push the rocks back up. And so that's going to be a deposition or a deposition, because they're going to reposition these rocks again. All right, let's go ahead, and we are going to highlight. Oh, they want you to do something for some notes, and we're not going to do that yet. Let's go ahead to, I think that's our last picture. Yes, we have a slideshow. So let me get to the slideshow. We actually have 2 slideshows. Ooh. Okay, here we go. So erosion is the movement of rock, soil, or sediment by water, ice, wind, or gravity. I love those pictures. That's kind of cool. Deposition occurs when eroded materials are deposited in new locations. So think of that word position and how it's going to get a new position, like the sand dune picture that I love, and that moraine over there on the left. Wind can move sand, forming dunes when the sand is deposited. Way cool. The Dust Bowl, which was something that happened in the 1930s. It was an example of wind storms that were eroding soil from the farmland on the Great Plains. As I remember this piece of history, they didn't receive rain for a long, long time. And the soil was just so dry that it just started blowing around. And over in the Great Plains, there's not mountains or hills to stop it, and so everything's just kind of flat. And all the soil was starting to move in different locations. It was kind of a cool story. If you're thoroughly bored, you could go learn more about this Dust Bowl. It's kind of cool story. Soil, here you go. Soil from these storms was deposited in large drifts. So look at that, some sort of wagon right there. There's a shed, and you can see how all of the soil just was moved. Some was deposited as far away as New Jersey. Now they say the Great Plains, and that would be states like Iowa and Nebraska, maybe even Kansas. And so, as you know about your United States maps from social studies, for it to be in New Jersey, whoo, holy cow. The soil blew all those states away. Check out a map. I know there's a map in the back of your assignment book. That's a long way away. That's kind of cool. I don't know how they measured that, but that's kind of cool. Here's my lovely picture. Water in oceans and seas also moves the sand and sediment. Sandy beaches are created by small ocean waves depositing eroded sand and sediment. Yep, sediment could be like animal bones, bits of animal bones, or bits of plants, or glass. Unfortunately, some people litter and drop glass in the ocean, and sometimes that is moved in with the ocean waves. Oh, here's something we haven't talked about. Avalanches. They also move soil and rock particles. That'd be scary to be in. Avalanches are caused by gravity. Avalanches pull snow, rock, and sediment down the sides of mountains. Here we have a glacier. They also erode the soil and rock by carrying it with them as they move. And they're moving because of gravity here. And so you can see some of them are dirty. Like, it's not a pretty one. It's just coming down here. When glaciers recede or melt, they leave behind soil, rocks, and sediment they carried in deposits called moraines. We learned about that. When part of a glacier breaks off into the water, it becomes an iceberg. So there you have a scientific definition of an iceberg. When part of a glacier breaks off and it goes into the water, it's now an iceberg. That's a cool picture. An iceberg can transport sediment hundreds of miles, depositing it on the ocean floor as the ice melts. This is a cool one because you can see where it broke away from the glacier, landed in the water. You can see it's kind of white underneath, so it goes under the water. That's a really cool shape there. Moving water can pick up and carry away material in its path. And I'm sure you've been to a river and where it's very rocky. Sometimes it's difficult or dangerous to swim just because of all the rocks and the sharp edges that they have. The faster water is moving, the heavier the objects it can carry. The faster water is moving, the heavier the objects it can carry. Makes sense? So speed is involved. That's when we are talking about large waves, large ocean waves versus small ocean waves. So the faster the water is moving, the heavier things can carry. On land, water moves faster over steeper slopes because of the pull of gravity. This one's pretty steep, as you can see here, that waterfall back there. That's a really long drop, really far drop. So that water is really going to hit the bottom and splash up. If you've ever gone to Niagara Falls, you see that when the water falls down, it kind of mists up, makes mist. They have a little boat ride called Maiden of the Mist. And then here, this water is just kind of trickling because it's not as steep as that drop over there. So you've seen water, we give it the verb trickle. It can trickle, meaning it's moving slowly. So that has to do with steep versus not so steep. Gullies, valleys, and canyons are formed when moving water erodes rock, soil, and sediment. That's a really cool river. Again, that's nothing that you're going to go swimming in. You can see the rocks sticking up. Nothing that you're going to go like whitewater rafting in. Over time, a river can cut a canyon by eroding rock beneath the river. I love these canyon pictures. And you can see that there's water. There's water down there. I don't know if you could see it the way that you were. Valleys formed by erosion are broad, level places where rivers slow down because the land has less slope. So water is going to go very slowly here because, again, it's not so steep a slope. Kind of all makes sense. As the water slows down, it can deposit sediment in broad areas called floodplains. So these areas where it does slow down is called a floodplain. When rivers overflow during floods, those look like peach trees or apple trees maybe, they often leave large amounts of sediment behind when they recede. So whatever kind of rocks or sands traveled with this water, it's going to be left behind at the bottom of those trees. Fertile soil and sediment left behind the floodwaters make river valleys good places to grow crops. That's going to be because they're moving all of those minerals and all of that good stuff that the roots and the plants love. So when the water does recede, it's a good place to grow crops. Maybe you've heard in social studies about the two great rivers, the Tigris and the Euphrates. It's in the area of Turkey and Iran today, and they were really good places to grow crops. The Nile River in Egypt is a really good place to grow crops. Here we go. Caves. They're going to form when acidic water flowing underground dissolves the limestone. Did you know that? A cave is going to get this space in the middle because the water made the rock, the limestone in the rock, dissolve. Again, you guys say that word disappear. It means dissolve. It broke it down. That's cool. Sometimes we don't think about how caves form. because you can't just scoop it out with a spoon. Dissolved minerals can form new cave structures as groundwater drips into caves. It's kind of gross, but cool. Deposition of these minerals in caves creates stalactites and stalagmites. Sometimes people get those words confused. Stalactites and stalagmites. And we got some arrows here. We've got the seas. Stalactites means ceiling. They're going to form on the ceiling of the cave. CC. Stalactites, ceiling. Then you have GG. Stalagmites, ground. They're going to form on the ground. Okay, so then you get a little memory device there to help learn those. CCGG. And that is the end of that one. Go ahead back to your packet, and we have paragraph 6. And you can look at that. Get the other one ready. There we go. Paragraph 6 says, deposition also occurs when skeleton of marine organisms or decomposed limestone is formed over time from the remains of corals, mollusks, plankton, and other organisms deposited in shallow oceans and seas. Coal is formed from prehistoric decomposed plant matter that accumulated over time and was covered by layers of deposited sediment. So this paragraph is describing how skeletons of marine animals, I was just made a little mention of that earlier, and decomposed plant matter like dead roots or dead leaves. We have dead or leaves that fall in the fall time, and they just lay on the ground, and so those will decompose and they can be deposited. We are going to do some highlighting, so go ahead and take out your highlighter, and we're going to highlight in the first sentence a lot of words here. Ready? Skeletons of marine organisms or decomposed plant matter. Oops. Wow. How did that happen? Ooh. I'm sorry, I'm going to say that again. We're going to highlight in the first sentence, marine organisms or decomposed plant matter. Going to go to paragraph 7. A fossil may be formed when sediment is deposited over the remains of an organism. A fossil is the remains or impression of an organism preserved in rock. Examples of fossils are bones, teeth, and shells of organisms, and footprints or leaf prints preserved in rock. A fossil can provide information about the age of the rock in which it is found. So that is describing what a fossil is. We're going to just highlight in the beginning of the second sentence the word fossil. Highlighting in the second sentence the word fossil. Examples of those can be bones, teeth, shells of things can be in there, footprints of animals or leaf prints. And now we are going to look at our pictures here. I'm going to kind of go through this a little fast here, so you can go ahead and pause if I'm going too fast. So here are remains of impressions. You can see organisms. Bones usually leave bigger marks. There's something from a shell of something that was living. Teeth. Teeth are often found. Something else that's hard and preserved. This was a skull with teeth of a Tyrannosaurus rex. Some fossils are just impressions. This was a dinosaur footprint. Impressions of a plant. A leaf print, that's another kind of way we fossilize things. Fossils can be of insects. That one was so perfectly preserved. That's a dragonfly. Fossilized dinosaur eggs. That's a cool one. The exoskeletons of arthropods. Some of them, those are the most common kinds of fossils. This is a trilobite. They're extinct. Petrified wood. I've seen some of that before. It's another kind of fossil. And here we have the definition of that. Petrified wood is formed by the deposition of minerals into plant material. The deposition of minerals into plant material. Because bone is often preserved while soft tissues are not, fossils can be a kind of jigsaw puzzle. And that one was an aquatic lizard that they put together. Platycarpus. Those paleontologists, they can assemble skeletons from fossilized bones. This is the giant beaver from North America. Skeletons and other fossils are often on display in museums. Here's a crocodile. And that's it there. So you have lesson 58 that I gave you a while ago. And so what I need you to do, and I will put this in your Google Classroom, I need you to type your answers. You're not turning in the paper to me because I don't know when we'll be able to see each other next. You need to type your answers on a Google Doc, okay? I'm going to share the assignment with you, and you're going to have to submit it by typing your answers. Your lesson 58 starts off with some multiple choice. So you can just write 1D, okay, if that's your answer. 2A, you can just write the letter. You don't have to type the whole choice, okay? This isn't typing class. Just quick answers. Number 5, you're listing 3 things, so just type. 6 of them, you're listing the 5 landforms. And so you're going to follow the directions here, and you're going to type out answers. You have 13 to answer for me. This is going to be due tomorrow by 9 a.m., okay? So you're going to have to answer your homework by typing your answers by 9 a.m. tomorrow, which is March 25th. This is getting to be a long video, so I'm going to cut off now. I'm going to retype this, and just so that you are all clear, and hope you guys are doing well. And I saw some of you yesterday on Mrs. Schumacher's computer, and I miss you guys. It's more fun to teach you guys in person than on video. But I will be in touch tomorrow. Bye.